The characters on How I Met Your Mother are selfish and flawed to a comical degree, as is basically every character from any sitcom ever. That's part of the genre.
Judge all you want to, but married a lesbian, left a man at the altar, fell in love with a gay ice dancer, threw a girl's wooden leg in the fire, live in a box!
Most sitcoms, including How I Met Your Mother, will not just imply, but explicitly point out the flaws in their characters.
All the most codependent, incestuous, controlling group of people I've ever met!
Calling out the bad behavior of the main cast.
What are you doing right now?
Oh, God, no.
Awesome. Okay, I'll see you in like 10 minutes. Great. Sorry, Henrietta. Something came up. Take a rain check, pal?
Yeah, it's no problem.
All right. Hey.
Oh, you're strong.
What a jerk.
Even doing it as early as season 1.
And there you have it, kids. The stupidest thing I've ever done. In one night, I managed to hurt 2 people I cared about. And none of it would have happened if I had just listened to my mom.
Much of the humor in sitcoms is derived from over-exaggerated, flawed characters engaging in inappropriate behavior for the slice-of-life setting that they're in.
I have to go refill. I'll be back in a moment. Play's not over.
I never get picked for audience participation.
And sure, there are also good parts that allow us to empathize with these characters. They're not all bad people, but that's part of the point. It's not black and white. They're not all good or all bad. At times, Barney is awful to his friends. He pulls pranks on them that are really mean-spirited.
I met someone up on this roof 4 years ago, and they mixed that cocktail, and they loved penguins. By any chance, was that you? It's you. I was crazy, but
You are such a loser.
At the same time, he'll go out of his way to do incredible things for them if they're down or need help.
Lily, you have to come home. You and Marshall belong together. The two of you have something that most people search their whole lives for and never find. I know you love him, and if you knew what he was going through right now, you wouldn't be here for one more second. I bought you a ticket home. Marshall is one of the best people I know, and it won't be long until someone else realizes that, and you'll lose him forever. I can't stand the thought of that happening, and I cannot keep stealing chicks from him forever. Never, ever tell anyone I was here. I will deny it tooth and nail. This trip never happened.
We, as the audience, are able to recognize both of these traits without needing to worry about whether or not we would actually be friends with him in real life, because he's not real. It's perfectly valid to hate Barney or any of these characters. You don't have to like them. It's also important to acknowledge that their flaws are part of the show. They're often at an extreme degree that we would not accept from people in real life. That's, again, part of the genre of a sitcom. All 5 of these characters, even Marshall, at some point engage in behavior that we would not find acceptable in real life, and we are supposed to understand that as we're watching it. We can even enjoy these characters while acknowledging that their behavior would not be okay if they were real. To be clear, that's not to say that we can't be critical of the show or that it's not without faults as a whole. And we can even be critical of some fans while acknowledging that people are watching this and other shows for a variety of reasons. Like, personally, I've watched the show many times, but I don't really have too strong of an opinion on any of the characters because I tend to watch shows with a more academic and distanced mindset because that's entertaining to me. But someone else who watches this might love watching it for Barney because they find him to be wacky and zany and fun, while understanding that much of his behavior is not good and they would hate him in real life. Or someone might love him because they remind him of someone they hate in real life and it feels cathartic to watch him. Or they hate watching him for that reason and they can't stand when he's on screen. All of these ways of engaging with this piece of media are perfectly valid and how most people are engaging with sitcoms in general because, again, it's the genre. And there are some great shows that deconstruct the genre, like Kevin Kneff himself.
Then one day, she realizes what she wants.
Whoa, Miss Hercules over here.
Which I highly recommend if you haven't seen it, but it's really delving into this idea of like how awful sitcom characters would be if they were real. And also a deeper look at husband-wife sitcoms. I wrote about it in my thesis, so y'all should check it out. But the point is, we can have like these interesting and good discussions about how sitcom characters are like not good people in real life. Understanding that that's by design and it's okay that that's not going to be a hindrance from people watching sitcoms. In fact, it is exactly what makes them entertaining and why so many sitcoms are willing to acknowledge that within their own shows.
Oh, hi, Rose. The ceiling in your room leaking too?
No, Dorothy, I just finished milking the cow I keep in my closet. Gee, with only 3 hours sleep, I can be as bitchy as you.
I think for some people, when they notice these selfish behaviors, they feel like they've caught on to something that the show does not know. Perhaps because it's common in children's shows to have characters that only have like slight flaws and are very explicit about working on them throughout the show. But even then, there are plenty that show this level of like human moral complexity. It's just that the characters here are only going to work on certain flaws, not all of them. They're always going to have some level of over-the-top, over-exaggerated personality trait. Not every sitcom is as focused on developing their characters and story as much as this one is, but even here, they're never going to be perfect people, and that's okay. Not all main characters are meant to be role models, even if they are trying to say deeper things at times. Those deeper things are not always, this character is perfect and how you should act. And again, you still don't have to like the show while understanding and acknowledging that. While working on this video, my boyfriend told me about the ending of Seinfeld, which is controversial, but I think kind of perfectly encapsulates this idea that sitcom characters are awful and that's part of the show. The main cast are on trial for criminal negligence because they witness a crime and don't do anything about it. And the prosecution brings in everyone these people have wronged throughout the series. If sitcom characters were real, this is the reaction most of them would get.
And how do you find with respect to the charge of criminal indifference?
We find the defendants guilty.
Order in this court! I will clear this room!
I do not know how or under what circumstances the four of you found each other. But your callous indifference and utter disregard for everything that is good and decent has rocked the very foundation upon which our society is built.
That is okay, because these shows are not trying to teach us how to be good people. Even when they're saying something grander, it is not about how to be a moral person. Many times, these characters can still be likable and even lovable, even with these over-the-top, unrealistic flaws. But again, if you don't like them, that's also okay. It's a matter of opinion. It doesn't mean that they're poorly written in an objective sense. Of course, they can also be poorly written, but them being immoral is not what makes them so. Somebody is going to bring up It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia as an example, and it is a great example.
Holy shit!
What? You kidnapped Corman?
I don't really know what happened, okay? First I was angry, then I was drinking. Next thing I know, I'm following this guy home and forcing him into the trunk of his own car.
People tend to have this opinion that them being awful is exceptional, that it's unique about that show. And the main cast certainly do have far less redeeming qualities than a lot of other sitcoms. There are very few moments where we feel compelled by them, unlike How I Met Your Mother. They're simply an extreme example, not an exception, because again, pretty much all sitcoms are about selfish people.